My name is Patrick Allen. I'm sitting here with Roger Van Cranest, who I'll be interviewing today on the Transistor Radio.
Hi, I'm Roger Van Cranest. What would you like to know, Patrick, of my experience?
So I was wondering if you, how much experience you have had with the Transistor Radio.
I've had a great deal of experience.
So the transistor has affected many people around the world since the invention, and I was wondering how the transistor radio has affected you.
Well, the transistor radio came into being in the middle of the 1950s when I was a young kid, and it made, especially from a kid's standpoint, it was mainly about music and making music extremely portable. So you could listen to music in your bedroom. You could have your own radio instead of having to go into the main part of the house and listen to the radio with your parents. I can't imagine anything worse than that. And it also made it possible to take it with you anywhere where you went. It was very small. From a larger perspective, the transistor radio made communication possible in poorer parts of the world, and that had an enormous effect globally. It was the first time that many people ever got immediate information because they became very cheap and very small, and they required a very small amount of electricity. Before the transistor, there were vacuum tube portable radios, but they were very large, and they required very heavy and very expensive batteries. And one of the technological achievements early on with the transistor radio was when they were first invented, they required a 22-volt battery, which was expensive and hard to find. And then later, quite early on, most of them ran off of a 9-volt battery, which would be the same battery that you have at home in your smoke detectors all over the house.
So I see you have a transistor radio with you today. Would you mind showing us what it looks like and how it works?
Yes. This is actually a shortwave radio, and it is very small, and yet it's comparable to, in many ways, a large professional quality shortwave radio. It has presets for 100 stations. It can get radio broadcasts from all over the world, and that just is one of the things that the transistor allowed the development of, because this is an extremely sophisticated device, and you can hold it in your hand. In fact, it's so small and it's so sophisticated that if you travel in the third world with something like this, it's liable to be confiscated at the border.
So the transistor...
I have something else to show you. This is a crystal set. This is what radios were when they were at the very onset of the development of the radio. And this required a great big antenna and a huge battery, and you had to listen only with earphones.
So the transistor was a very large leap in technology. So what kind of effects do you think that transistor had on other industries around the world?
Well, one of the interesting things about the transistor is that it's the very first application of the transistor commercially was in hearing aids, and it allowed hearing aids to become much, much smaller. And so today, people that have hard time hearing can have a hearing aid that actually just fits in their ear. They're so small, and that would be impossible without the transistor. Also, technologically, the transistor has made the integrated circuit possible, where you can put thousands and thousands of transistors, maybe millions, who knows, into very small spaces, and that's one of the drivers behind the development of the personal computer, where, what is it, every year it gets 4 times as powerful and that kind of thing. And the iPad is all because of a zillion transistors. Basically, a transistor is a switch. It can be used, when you have a little tiny switch like a transistor, you can amplify signals and you can switch signals, and it's the basic reason, the basic way that computers and other electronic things work. So anything in the world that is electronic at this point is controlled by a transistor. Another aspect of the transistor is they require very little power, so that you can make very small things and use very small batteries.
So the transistor was first released after the Second World War, and do you believe that it was used to increase the communication quality, like in other wars, for example in Vietnam? It was probably after the transistor, but do you believe that it was used to create better devices for communication?
Yes, it was used to, well, going back one step, the transistor, wars create huge speed-ups of technology. And if you look at electronic communication before, during, and after World War II, there were huge leaps of technology. Everything, as I said before, from telephone communication to walkie-talkies, military communication, that all improved drastically by the time of the Vietnam War, and then more so even by our current wars. And we have been involved in one war after the other since the end of the Second World War.
So those are all the questions that I have for today, and thank you for taking your time for this interview.
You're welcome, Patrick. Anything else?
No, that is all. Thank you.
Okay.